Hey, founders, Kirk Michie here with another update for you if you're thinking about selling your business or taking your company to market. So look, whether you hire a transaction advisor and deal lawyers and go to market in a full-blown process, or you're just responding to inbound offers and outreach from private equity firms or competitors, one of the things that may not seem obvious until you're pretty far down the track, but it's important to get a vibe on early in your deal, is whether there's a cultural fit between the buyer and your company. And what we mean by that is not just all the crunchy stuff, but what happens in our experience and in the experience of the hundreds of other investment bankers and deal lawyers we talk to, is that for a deal to work, for the company that you built over the last 5 years, 50 years, or 5 generations, to become part of another organization, and for that, patient to accept the donor, if you will, it's a iffy thing at best. And so, what is critical here is that you think about the kind of organization, the kind of people, the work environment of the buyer of your business. Now, if it's a private equity firm, chances are they're not going to get too involved in the business. They'd like your business to continue to operate fairly independently. They probably have some controls over the financials, and they will control the advisory board of the company, but they're going to want you or your successor to continue to operate the business. So unless they're merging that into another portfolio company they have, the culture you just need to worry about is, can you work with financial people who are not operating expert or subject matter expert in your business? And there's a whole legion of things we could tell you about working with private equity firms, but culturally speaking, they're not necessarily going to impact your business. They're going to impact how you or your successor and the management team feels about the company, because you or those people are going to have to be reporting to them. But culturally speaking, they're probably not going to change things too much. Now, there are cases where they decide to cut costs or outsource things or start using different vendors. Those things are going to impact your culture. So on a spreadsheet, to them, those things make perfect sense, but you will feel them in a different way. And if you're on your yacht, having taken your proceeds to ride off into the proverbial sunset, those are the text messages and emails you're going to get. Sort of like, hey, boss, what the hell did you do to us? Right? And it goes double if you're selling to a big competitor, a strategic buyer, a company that's in your business. But they're not necessarily just deal people. They're acquiring you to get your products or your services or your geography. So your people are now going to probably report to, like, your controller is going to report to their CFO. Your president is going to report to their division head. Culturally speaking, you might get rolled into their HR and benefits, and, try as you might to look at these things before a transaction closes. These are the kinds of things that are going to cause people to leave after the deal. So minimally, you probably want to think about, look, how important is it to retain the people after the deal to whatever contingent economics you have? And if it's important, you might want to incentivize those people by setting aside, retention bonuses or something like that. But all of this gets back to the idea that the culture of your acquirer is a very, very, very significant thing in terms of how well your business is going to fit into it, whether your legacy is going to get preserved. Here, I'm not talking about ego. I'm talking about your people. I'm talking about your customers. I'm talking about your position in the marketplace. Those things will matter to you. You built something great. So when you're trying to maximize the price you get for it at sale, think about culture. It will not be the reason that you get a whole lot less for the business, but it will be the reason that the business flourishes after your sale or flounders after your sale. So that's it for this week. We'll be back with more soon. Thanks.